The hunting vessel Kravix's Fang descended through the purple haze of Theta Lupus IV's atmosphere, its scanner arrays pinging with predatory enthusiasm. Inside the cramped bridge, Captain Veshikara clicked his mandibles in satisfaction as another thermal signature appeared on his display. Small, warm-blooded, and utterly defenseless. "Another one," he hissed to his crew. The wolf pups fetch premium prices on the syndicate markets. Their pelts, their neural tissue, all valuable. The ship's weapons locked onto the fleeing creature below. A young wolf cub, no more than 3 standard months old, scrambled desperately through the crystalline forest, his silver fur matted with sweat and fear. Rock didn't understand why the sky had opened with fire and death. He only knew that his pack was gone, and the burning smell of ozone meant the hunters were close. The targeting laser painted a red dot on Rock's heaving flank. Then the forest exploded with light. A figure materialized between Rock and the descending ship, bipedal, impossibly tall, wrapped in armor that seemed to be forged from starlight itself. A spiraling horn of pure energy crowned her head, refracting the twin suns into 1,000 dancing colors. Her eyes, human eyes, Veshkara realized with a jolt of shock, burned with an intensity that made his blood run cold. "Stand down." The human's voice crackled across all frequencies, calm but carrying the weight of solar storms. "Leave the child alone." Veshkara's translator struggled with the term. Child? The creature was livestock, nothing more. But as he studied the armored human, recognition dawned, the unicorn insignia blazing on her chest plate. The bioluminescent horn, a neural interface so advanced it could tap directly into quantum fields. The crystalline armor forged in the heart of Terra's moon, a guardian. More specifically, Seren, the unicorn of the Terran Defense Corps, whose name was whispered in frightened tones across a dozen star systems, the human who had single-handedly held the breach at Proxima Centauri. The one they said couldn't be killed. "This is not your concern, human," Veshkara managed, though his confidence was already crumbling. "We have legal salvage rights in this sector." "Not anymore." Seren didn't move, but Rock felt the shift in the air. The human's horn blazed brighter, and suddenly every weapon on the Kravix's Fang went dark. Life support flickered. The gravity generator stuttered. All around the ship, the forest itself seemed to awaken, the crystalline trees resonating at frequencies that made the hull groan. "Here's what's going to happen," Seren said, her voice now amplified through the ship's own speakers. "You're going to raise your altitude to orbital height. You're going to leave this system, and you're going to spread the word that Theta Lupus IV is under human protection now. You can't, there's only one of you. That's all it takes." Veshkara's tactical officer suddenly shrieked. On the long-range sensors, dozens, no hundreds of signatures were appearing. Human vessels dropping out of faster-than-light travel like avenging angels. Cruisers. Destroyers. And at the center, the massive dreadnought Indomitable Will, its weapons arrays already charging. But Seren hadn't called for backup. She hadn't needed to. Veshkara realized with creeping horror that the fleet had been there all along, watching, waiting to see if he would make the right choice. Humans. They didn't just protect their own. They adopted everything they deemed worth saving. And then they dared the universe to disagree. "Last chance," Seren said softly. Below her she could feel Rock's rapid heartbeat, his terror slowly morphing into confusion as he sensed the shift in power. The cub didn't understand the technology, the politics, the interstellar law. He only knew that the light being with the kind eyes had placed herself between him and death. Veshkara's hands trembled over his controls. He'd hunted for 30 cycles, raided 100 worlds. He'd faced desperate colonists, angry wildlife, even rogue AI. But he'd never faced a human who had decided that something was worth protecting. They were insane, these Terrans. They'd adopt anything. Stray animals, endangered species, even primitive species that most of the galaxy considered pests. And once they decided something was under their protection, they became utterly immovable. "Engaging retreat protocols," he finally muttered. The Kravix's Fang lifted, its engines screaming as it clawed for altitude. Within moments, it had punched through the atmosphere and into the cold embrace of space. The fleet tracked it silently as it engaged its FTL drive and vanished. Only then did Seren deactivate her combat armor. The crystalline plating retracted. The energy horn dimmed to a soft glow, and she knelt before Rock with her hand extended. The wolf cub should have run, Every instinct screamed at him to flee from this strange, hairless predator. But something in her scent, underneath the metal and energy, smelled like safety. Like Pack, Rock took a tentative step forward, then another. Finally, he pressed his small muzzle against her palm. "You're safe now," Seren whispered, her human voice gentle. "I promise." High above, the captain of the indomitable Will watched the scene on his view screen and smiled. Another world marked on the maps, another species added to humanity's ever-growing list of adopted children. The galaxy called them crazy, called them soft, said their sentimentality would be their downfall. But humanity had learned long ago that civilization wasn't measured by the strength of your weapons or the size of your empire. It was measured by what you chose to protect when no one was watching, and if anyone wanted to test that protection, well, the Terran Defense Corps would be happy to remind them why humans had once survived ice ages, predators, plagues, and their own worst impulses. They'd survived by being too stubborn to die and too compassionate to abandon the helpless. Seren scooped Rock into her arms, the wolf cub's fear finally melting into exhausted relief. Around them, the crystalline forest chimed its approval, and overhead, humanity's fleet stood silent vigil. Let the hunters try again. They'd find that when a human draws a line in the stars and says no further, that line becomes an immovable law of physics. Rock, nestled against Seren's chest, began to purr, a sound wolf cubs make when they finally feel safe. And across a dozen star systems, in dark corners where predators planned their next hunt, word spread the humans had claimed another world, and the unicorn had drawn her line.